Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm in Got for episode 69 for Sunday, the 23rd of January, 2022. In this week's show, we'll be discussing, is Nintendo finally fixing their shoddy Switch N64 emulation? We take a look at our next game of some other year nominee, Donkey Kong Country 2, finally. And Mike is back with a special spicy retrospective.
Bigwig's on the radio. Shut up. It's gaming from the studio.
As always, if you want to support the show, jump on bigwigpod.com and check out all our links. Like, subscribe. That's how we get paid here. Mike, you're back?
I am back.
Welcome
I'm
back.
alive, coming to you live while being alive. And we don't need money. We just need the adoration of
We need the likes.
our listeners.
We need the subs.
And the likes.
We need to have a sub goal. 500 subs on YouTube. That's the goal now.
Okay, that's a cool goal. I like that.
Yeah.
I
And we
can create
finally
another
surpassed your old
118
account.
accounts.
You know, your
Oh, yeah, you
YouTube
guys-
channel? No, it's pretty
We
even,
crushed
actually.
it. No, it's way more on this one. It's way more.
And Swinny?
Pretty good.
Hello.
Hello. No hype this week, Swinny. What's going on?
Well, all the hype. I'm still coming down from the hype of our midweek in gaming special that you can check out. Episode 68.7. This is Xbox Land.
That's a good title.
Go check that out. Yes, that was a good title.
Great, like a good episode number that no one will get, and then also a pretty decent title, I thought. You know,
Yeah.
the crickets at your house are so loud,
Are
even
they
through the
still-
window.
Dude, I closed my window.
I'll just say,
Up.
I do, like, for people who are listening live, they might be able to hear it, but I do some post-processing on the audio, so it might eliminate it, but
I don't know,
it is
man. I
quite
reckon
funny.
They're
It's
very
quite funny.
What's the
they're very-
score, Mike?
You know why? Because it's episode 69, so they're going a bit.
They're alive. Oh, God.
They're doing
You know,
some,
you look actually super healthy. You look healthier than
crickety
both of us. On
Thanks.
this.
I know.
Yeah,
So
I feel.
I'm thinking you faked this injury.
Yeah, I faked the whole intro. And last time I was talking to you, I don't know, I used a voice overlay to sound sick. Yeah.
And I'll just say it feels like so long ago since Mike was on the show. Although it's technically he's only missed one
it.
actual episode.
When
I think?
I missed.
Two. No,
Two,
yeah,
right?
two. Well, yeah, but I'm saying because the
Two.
Kemco one was kind of like
Yeah.
in between. So like an official,
Like an
next
official episode. Oh yeah, you're right. It's only
but
one.
in like this, in the scope of like podcast time, it's 5.5
ages.
hours worth of podcast time because
Podcast time. I love that concept.
it's like in-game time,
in
it's
podcast time.
Yeah, it does feel like
It's
it's been a while.
5.5 hours worth of content that we missed you, Mike. So welcome back.
And I think
Thank you.
we have done a few interstitial episodes, haven't we? Like some half episodes more frequently recently. So feels
And
like we've
we-
done the stack of podcasts.
6
Yeah.
point. Huh?
I was
Yeah,
saying,
67, 67.5, 68, and 68.7, and now 69. It's kind of insane.
we did the Kemco tier list, which Mike,
Hmm.
I know that you were actually kind of looking forward to, but
I
at the same
actually
time,
was.
at
Lies.
the
I watched
same
it.
time, I think you probably dodged a bullet that you didn't have to sit here for 2
No,
hours.
well, I didn't
listening
have to sit listening to it, but I still sat and listened to it after the fact. So
Yeah,
the
But,
bullet just went around in a loop and hit me in the head again.
we weren't going to do a show that week at all, and it got like the day before. Do you reckon we could do the Kemco tier
We
list?
must do
It was
And
good
I,
timing. Good
I
timing.
realized we didn't tell Mike at all, so he literally got the notification.
Yeah, I got the notification. I felt like, what the
Yeah.
hell is this?
Yeah.
Bastards are doing a podcast without me.
Remove. You know what I want to do? I want to do that thing that Wikipedia does where it has the band members. Have you ever seen
yeah,
it?
just-
It's like Swinny and myself, and then Mike comes, and then Swinny drops off in one, and it just have the lineage. And ultimately, I want you guys to be able to run the show from your end, so that
Oh,
I
boy.
can miss an episode. That'd
Wow,
be
this,
awesome.
this guy's a dreamer right here.
Yeah, if you miss an episode, we'll just like record a Discord call or something.
That's true. So there's no hype this week,
Yeah.
Swinny. There's no corrections, nothing from our community, no question. Or because I'd want to raise that I've got an anecdote.
Oh.
So I was driving my kid around, well, my kids, but my eldest is 4. And, you know, he has the soundtrack and all the stuff in the car and all these songs that he listens to. He's quite diverse and stuff. And then we're driving around. He goes, I want to hear kids song, right? And I'm like, kids songs. Okay, like, and I'm putting on Lion King and all these because he doesn't normally listen to that many kids songs, right? And he's like, no, kids song. I'm like, what? Like, what do you want, man? Like, it kind of half likes the songs that I put on. And then he's like, MGMT kids song. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, that's
I was thinking the Robbie Williams, Kylie Minogue kids song, but MGMT, that's even better.
Yeah.
So.
And he only likes, I tried to get him to listen to a few different MGMT songs. He literally only likes
that one.
Electric Feel and Kids. That's the only two songs.
What about
pretty good
time?
tracks,
What
though.
about Time to Pretend? That's a good one.
I think that's got some explicit language. From
It does, but that's all I was actually saying.
Kind of,
I actually used to work in a retail shop, and we could bring our own mixed CDs and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, we couldn't have exploitatives on it. Exploitatives or whatever. And I completely forgot that Time to Pretend by MGT had swear words in it. So I'm sitting there at the counter serving all these customers, and just hearing it, and I'm like, oh,
this is awkward. It's not the tone of the store
But it's
that you're
not that.
working at.
We're not talking about some really explicit. It's not that bad.
Yeah, but
No.
it's more obvious. Like, so every now and then, there might be certain rap songs that he listens to that I know has explicit language, but it's kind of hard for normal people to even pick up on the language because it's, just the way it is. So,
Yeah, you're right. It's like often it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Just in the way they sing, and that is like you can hear it clear as day in that song.
yeah, that's the problem. So when it's like that, I don't want him to be like listening to songs like that all the time and absorbing it because he actually does know a lot of the lyrics to just all these random songs now. So the thing that you'd laugh, Swinny, is that he's trying to do like a Swedish death metal singing kind of thing with sugar. So he just like goes.
You should get him to try some In Flames, Artifact of the Black Rain.
Yeah,
or
I
something.
don't think he likes that. So he likes more melodic stuff, I think. But he's got good taste. Like,
Well, In Flames are a melodic death metal band. so-
no, they're too fast though. The BPM's way through the roof. So in Bigwig in music and metal.
Yeah, and kids. I feel like I should just make some kids, just pop a few out, just so we can turn this into
Kids chat.
a kids gaming
Gamer
chat
dads.
podcast. Gamer dad. I think there already is one.
Oh, there is.
unfortunately,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
There's
I
like
listen to them.
hundreds of them.
I know. I listen
Probably
to
hundreds
them.
of them, actually, yeah.
I listen to them. They feel my
Not a
pain.
niche.
They feel my pain. Speaking of which, let's talk about what we've been playing.
Let's do it.
You've been playing not so much or so much.
No, I wouldn't say all that much. No, I mean, no, not in the last. So I played a bit though, so I'll get into what I've actually been playing. But in my vegetable state that I was in for a few days, basically, it was feeling like a vegetable.
I like
And it
how
was
people are like,
extremely hot as well.
what was
I
wrong
couldn't
with
do
this guy?
shit.
What was wrong with him?
I
Oh, I
wonder.
won't reveal it. I won't
Yeah.
reveal it. It's
Let's just
totally
say
not obvious.
he had to
I
go
don't-
to hospital because there was something, inside his body that he had to get removed.
I
It was
had to.
inserted and it was couldn't get removed.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Episode
pretty much.
69.
Pretty much. Episode
He was-
69, baby.
He was reenacting that scene from Jackass 2, the movie.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
exactly.
what happened, yeah. And I also got a penis reduction while I was there. So, but in saying all of that, I have actually been playing four things. So, the first one, I finally got around to playing Disco Elysium properly. Now, I already had it on PC for a little while now, but I decided to grab it on Switch because it's come out on Switch. And, oh my god, boy oh boy, where do I begin? This has been one of the most interesting gaming experiences I've had in a long, long time. It is such a unique game, and I knew I could probably really get into this game when I heard about it, when I saw reviews and everything else, but I didn't realize how much I would really enjoy this game. It is freaking superb. And it is truly one of those games that I'm looking forward to playing it again. That kind of an
Have you
experience.
beaten it?
And no, I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm already looking forward to a bunch of places where I'm like, oh, I should have said this instead, or I should have done this. I think look, I'm not doing a full review of the game or anything, but I think the power behind this game is ultimately how introspective it is. That it really gets you to think about your beliefs, your view on politics, your view on life, existence, all that kind of stuff, reality. And And I don't think any game in recent memory has done that. You know how we talk about some games like The Witcher 3 has gray areas in terms of what is good, what's bad. This takes it to a whole new freaking level. To the extent that it makes so many traditional RPGs feel, even if they're mature, it just makes them feel so much less mature in the way they're done. So it's a brilliant game. I love it. It's one of my favorite games that I've ever played. So highly, highly recommend it.
What do you think about playing it on the Switch?
Yes,
So it's an interesting one. Would I recommend it on the Switch? Not really. So performance-wise, look, it's still cool, and because I was, in bed quite a lot of the time, it made so much more sense than sitting in front of a computer. I don't think I would have had the energy to sit in front of a computer the whole time.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect medium for that reason. But performance is atrocious, to be honest. And I reckon maybe I'm not even exaggerating here, but like one in 15 or less times, between 10 and 15, when you go between areas, of which you do quite a bit, the game will crash, like unexpectedly. So I had to keep saving. It's a known thing. It's a known thing. I read that in reviews about the Switch, which is really disappointing. But even so, even with really shitty performance, and I played it on PC, so I know what it's like to have it running good. So even with crap performance, even with constant crashes like that, it did not deter from how amazing the experience is. And because of the nature of the game, you don't need, a 1440 hertz, 1440p monitor or anything like that. You don't need any of that.
165 hertz refresh rate.
Don't need any of that. It's so cool if it could be stable on the Switch and just run a little bit smoother. Like there were times where it just stuttered, insanely stuttered.
Wow.
Particle effects in a certain scene and stuff like that. Luckily that it was only once, and I think it happened also when there was snow, and I'm assuming it's a scripted part as well, and it just would stutter. The sound would kind of go choppy. It's really bad like that. But in saying all of that, amazing experience nonetheless. So next time I'm just going to play it on PC though.
So it sounds like if you have other consoles outside of the Switch, get it there.
Oh yeah, I'd get it on a different console.
But if you only had a Switch, would you recommend it?
Yeah, totally.
Oh wow, even if
I would, yeah. Like I said, I could have just jumped on the PC and gone screw the Switch version shit, but I didn't. And I'm looking forward to actually playing it again on PC and choosing a different kind of character, if that makes sense. So all I can say is highly recommend it. It's one of the most interesting. It's not a fun experience, if that makes sense. It's not the kind of game that you play for fun.
Yeah.
But it's by far one of the most amazing gaming experiences I've had.
Because how far into it are you?
Oh, it's
like halfway, third through.
I'd probably estimate about halfway. I don't know because I don't know when the story ends, but I'm on like day 3 or 4 in the game.
Because everything I hear about this game, I was like, damn, this is like a Mike game.
It totally is.
Like I'm like, and some people this is their favorite game ever. Like and I'm like, this might be Mike's favorite game ever if he ever gets around to playing it. That's what I was wondering, how far into it you are.
Yeah, look, it's tough to call it my favorite. I'm gonna wait till I finish it.
Yeah, you have
to call it that, but easily in my top 10.
Right
Easy.
Already in your top 10.
Yeah,
Damn.
easy in my top 10. It's just a phenomenal game.
Dude,
I mean, it's not as good as the game.
Steam Deck.
On the Steam Deck, it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
It'd be absolutely perfect. It'll be a game I'll play. Like it's not number one like the game that I'll be talking about later in the episode today. That's obviously my number one game of all time. I won't spoil what it is, but we'll talk about it in a sec. But it's brilliant. So anyway, enough of Disco
2 hours later.
Enough of Disco Elysium. The other game that I played a little bit of, because I had to start all over again, is Mass Effect Andromeda. So you guys know, if you've tuned in, you know about my 3 lame New Year's resolutions. One of them was to finish Mass Effect Andromeda.
Not that lame.
Well, I think they are.
Very achievable.
It's finishing 3 games. But honestly, with me and my ability to finish games, because I do play way too many different ones, I'm even having doubts about this, to be honest. Which sounds stupid, but I am. But anyway, I played it. I finally got further than where I got the last 3 times I've started this game. On multiple platforms that I played it on. I think I played it on PS4/5. I played it on PC. I played it on Xbox. I'm currently doing it on PC. Look, I think it's obviously, Swinny, you played it. You have way more experience in the game. Having actually just gone off playing a little bit of the Legendary Edition again, it's not that bad. I think it at the time it copped a lot of flack. You know, some for the right reasons, I still think, and some of the writing, in my opinion, is still atrocious. And there's parts where I'm like, oh, seriously. But that could also be because I was playing Disco Elysium at the same time, and after that, so many conversations in this are just so inane. I'm like, this is just fucking shit writing. But in saying that, solid gameplay, really enjoying it, and I'm actually looking forward to just finishing the game. It's drawn me in sufficiently into the story and the universe now that I think I will absolutely finish it, and I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll just say with it, it's the kind of game that obviously, you know, we know its reputation, but from a pure gameplay and combat standpoint, it's so well made. It just feels so good when you're actually in, like, some of the combat encounters, especially as you get further into the game, are just really, really solid. It's just a shame that it just had a horrible launch, and it's not the best written game. Still my second favorite in the series, though. So.
Oh wow,
Second favorite.
That's
When we're talking about like Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, Mass Effect 1's your favorite. This is your second, and then probably 3 to 2 because you're contrarian, right?
That actually is probably closer. 3 to 2. 3 to 2 are very interchangeable for me. No, I think the main reason, I don't want to take over this whole thing, but the main reason is because it is much more of an RPG, and I think that it's much closer to number one in that regard.
Okay. One. Cool. Look, I was wondering about this game because it's like it has the hate mob around it, but I always wonder, is it actually okay if you went and played it?
No, it's okay. Yeah,
because they patched the hell out of it right after launch.
Yes and no. I don't know if they really made huge
I thought they
changes.
did. Like a lot of the voice, like the what do you call it? Like the not voice acting, but the way that they're rigged and stuff. Yeah, the
mocapping animations. Wow,
sorry, apologies.
And the bugs. There was a lot of bugs on launch. As well.
They fixed a lot of that stuff, but you can't fix the narrative issues people may have had with the game. You know, so.
Yeah,
and a lot of the dialogue and stuff. But just another thing about this one quickly as well is. It's a minor thing. It's just I picked the male writer in this particular playthrough, and I don't know, something about the way he looks always feels a little dopey, and it just reminded me of the time that I made, I think it was Dragon Age Inquisition, or one of the Dragon Ages, where I made a custom character, and I didn't intend to make him look like an idiot, but every time I was in a dialogue, I couldn't take it seriously because my character looked like an absolute fucking idiot, and. It's not like this, because, I mean, the dialogue is much better in that sense. But there's something about his face. I don't know what it is about it. It's his eyes that just feel so dopey. Like he's constantly like, hey, man, what's up? Like, he's half high or something. It's really weird.
In Andromeda. But isn't that part of the, the mocapping and all the issues that people have with it? I don't know what...
Maybe. But people never really complained much about the male writer. They were complaining a lot about the female writer for whatever reason. But... it's just, I don't know, it's a minor thing. It just, every time I see his face, I'm like, man, it's something about it makes me laugh. But the last game that I played is Tetris DX on the analog. And really, honestly, was probably more because my girlfriend was playing it and she was trying to beat my... We're sort of going back and forth just in the normal mode, trying to get the highest score. And then we started playing the 40 lines, where you got to get the quickest time within 40 lines. So what happened was, we're playing it, and I'm ahead. I'm like, yeah, she's never gonna beat me. I'm trying to psych her out and everything. And then she hands me over the analog, going, okay, it's your turn. You can play now. And I didn't realize it was logged in under her name. So I'm playing, and then like in the first game that I play after that, I set the highest score, and I'm like, yeah, beat that in your face. And then I realized when it finished that it was under her name, so she got the highest score.
Well, not
like,
really.
Kidding me? Well, not really, but unofficially on the thing, she had the highest score.
It's a moral victory, right?
So a pretty hollow victory for her. But anyway, so then I had to, of course, beat my own top score to get it off the list.
You had to.
I felt like it was impossible because the top one, I'm like, wow, it was pretty hard to get the top one. So then I was effectively competing against myself to destroy my old score.
That's galaxy brain from her.
So yeah, it was actually pretty good of her. So yeah, so I've been playing a little bit of that. I don't know how many hours because it's obviously not. It's Tetris. It's very repetitive, but really good game. It's a really cool addition, I think, of as far as Tetris games goes, I've played a bunch of them, and again, we'll talk about a really good one later. But the DX version is really cool. I really like it. It's like the, I don't know how to put it. It's the quintessential
deluxe.
Tetris experience.
DX, it's better than
It's good. Everything about it's
I
really
think
cool.
I like the Game Boy one, just the original, just the
I swap
simplicity
between
of it,
them,
yeah.
but something about the way the DX version feels. And it's funny now because when you play it, so I played 3 different versions of Tetris in the last few days.
Oh,
And
you're starting
they
to
feel
give
different.
light spoilers.
They
light
feel totally
spoilers.
different. And actually, no, four different versions because I also played. I also very briefly put on, but I didn't play much of it. I put the Tetris Effect on just so we could play 2 players at the same time.
Tetris
And-
Effect might be the best version of Tetris.
Yeah,
That is freaking amazing.
it's an amazing experience, but as far as the core mechanics of a Tetris game go, the DX version is probably my favorite.
Really?
Yeah,
You mean
it's
the
weird.
style like lock-in drops, like where you can't manipulate it?
It's funny. I don't want to go into too much detail about that because I like the fact that it doesn't show you where the piece falls,
Yeah.
but I wish I could drop it instantly because sometimes
Yeah,
I know
hard drop.
it's a minor gripe, but I feel like a hard drop is actually a very quick time saver, and not even when you're trying to do like 40 lines or anything like that. I just like being able to quickly do it as opposed to waiting for the piece to go, even if you hold it down. So like, there's a few tweaks that I'm like, but it just feels like it's more of a classic. It's a refined classic Tetris experience.
You should check out the Rosy patch of Tetris that's available for
What's
Game
the Rosy
Boy.
patch?
They implement hard drop. You can see the next 3 pieces, I think, and a few other
Ah.
things. Yeah. But it's like the classic engine for the most part.
Okay,
It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
cool. So what about you, Mr. Intercott?
Yeah. You know what? I'm liking how tall I am on the podcast. I want to see.
Yeah,
Like, if for those on video, let me see if I can just tweak it a bit. Yeah, there you go. Just move the whole desk up to make that happen. So it looked like, I criticize Xbox Game Pass a lot. I've got Game Pass for PC. Number one, like, I'll always say this: the installation experience, it's so shit. I saw the notice that some awesome games got added to Game Pass this week, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. I always wanted to play Rainbow Six Siege a lot more. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to install that and check that out properly, right? I get on Game Pass, the app on my PC. I'm like, where is Rainbow Six Siege? What the fuck's going on? I'm like searching for it, searching the store, nothing. Like nothing at all. I'm like, what's going on here? And then I go like search online to check it out. And then freaking hell, it's like actually like you have to install like and link in your Xbox thing with Ubisoft, and it's like not obvious. It's all specific links and everything.
Wow.
And then go to Uplay to actually install it. I was just like, it's just so frustrating, the experience. But that's the last I'll say on that. Rainbow Six Siege, I just honestly think I'll just never, it's just not the right time for me ever. It never will be. Because I think I just need to like get into it like Rocket League and spend like 100 hours to get my head around it. And I just don't have the time for it, unfortunately. And with kids and everything like that, it's so challenging. But one gripe that I have about it, I just really don't like how the operators, it's like, it feels a little bit pay to win. Like you don't have access to all the operators, but they are quite different to some degree. And it's not like Rocket League where, you have different skins effectively for the car, but you could play any of the car models. There's like about 10 different base models in the game. Whereas, yeah, with Rainbow Six Siege, if you wanted to play a certain operator who has certain things that they can do, often you'd have to pay for it. I'm not really a big believer in that. But in terms of the shooting mechanics, just the mechanics of the game, it feels so awesome. I kind of like
Solid.
played through it and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna light a torch for this game and then put it out and just go, okay, I'm just never gonna be able to play this game. It's just like it came out too early. It's like now 6 years in. By the time I'd actually have time to play this game, it's probably like 3 years from now when my kids are a bit older. And then it's like, I think that community will be like on the wane fully by then. So I was a bit sad about that. But it is an awesome game, but it's just not the kind of game that, it's just wrong timing. It's like, star-crossed lovers. The other game that I played a hell of a lot more recently is Monster Hunter Rise. Damn you, Capcom. giving me the code for the PC game. So I actually went back to the Switch version, and man, I finally think I've got my head around this game, if that makes sense. Like I played like I don't even know how many hours, like 30 hours or some ballpark like that, right? But I think I've finally gone, okay, I think I understand how I'm supposed to play this game now. So I switched to Insect Glaive. I'm like, and I watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos on how to play.
God, that thing.
No, but I love it, man. I'm like, I understand how to use it now. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is like, I really like it. I really like it.
It's just, I say that because I remember when they added that in, I think that came with World. But anyway, I remember everyone just talking about it being like, it's so different from everything else. And like, there's all the weapons are different, all the weapon sets and stuff. I'm talking mainly from experience with World here, but the Insect Glaive is something else. Especially like I haven't even considered how that works in with the wirebug mechanics of Rise.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like it, because it's so aerial. It's like you can be in the air for such a long time with the Insect Glaive. Like you're just like flying around, just like styling and stuff. The other thing is I've just given up on you two guys. I've given up that I'll ever play games with you guys online. So I've actually never played Monster Hunter Rise on multiplayer. So I was like, all right, stuff it. I'll just have to play with randos. And I just want to announce to everyone, Monster Hunter Rise is an awesome multiplayer game. It like actually even just playing with obviously joking, but you playing with randos even, it's just really fun. Like I didn't, again, going back to I wasn't playing the game properly. I actually didn't realize for a long time that I needed to play those, I can't even remember what they're called, hub quests.
Yeah.
With other people. Like I couldn't just play by myself. So I was entering them by myself, and it was taking like 50 minutes to kill the monster. Right? I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is like 5 times more powerful, this monster, 5 times more health. What the hell is going on with this monster, right? And yeah, I didn't realize that you have to play with other people, because the health stats are just like through the roof of these monsters in these hub quests. So yeah, I started plowing through a lot of them, and I think I'm up to either like the end of the game, the main story, because I've got to fight Maglamalo, or like there might be extra stuff. I haven't spoiled it, so I'm not actually sure. But I'm supposed to fight Maglamalo, so I'm really enjoying it, man. It's I don't know if I'll go into what is it called, Sunbreak, the DLC.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of a bit like, you know what? If I want to play Monster Hunter, I probably should just go play World. I've got World, and like that's just a different experience. Like I do like the wirebug mechanic. I think it'll be interesting if I go and play World. If I feel like it's so restrictive, like it might feel like that.
I can't speak for Monster Hunter Rise, but Monster Hunter World, just beating the main story was like the first half of basically what that game had to offer. So
Yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's like a stack in the game. But like, this is also the bizarre thing of Monster Hunter. It kind of treats its like story so seriously in a way. And then you have these side quests. And I did one the other day. It's like collect all the Sonic rings. And then you get like the layered armor. And then I actually like my Palico is now Sonic skin. So it's like Sonic's running around with me like whenever I'm doing quests. And then what's the wolf's name? Ami from Okami?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ami.
Amaterasu, yeah.
Yeah, Ami, right? And then that's the K9 that I have. So they're the 2 characters that come with me. So anyway, Monster Hunter Rise, awesome game. Probably the last time I mentioned it, but really, really, really enjoying it. And then finally, the other Xbox Game Pass game that became available for free as part of the subscription, so I'm glad I didn't buy it, was Death's Door. And yeah, like I'm really keen to talk to you about this, Mike, because have you played this, Swinny?
Yep, this week.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it on your list, but
Because you were going to bring it up. So
oh, cool. I want to get your thoughts on it as well. Look, I think one big factor for me is I just don't have as much time as you guys to play games, and like this game is like almost like I'm like about 10% through it, I think. This game is such a solid game. Like I'd even go, maybe this is like a 9 out of 10 game, 8 out of 10 game, easy, right? But it just kind of like doesn't have like some kind of charm or some extra thing to it that really like, I don't know, man, like just grabs me. And I'm kind of like, I could keep playing it, but I'm sort of a bit torn. I'm like it's still on my computer, but I'm like torn whether I'll keep playing it or not. I would love to have like a Steam Deck and be able to play it like portably because it would actually allow me to play it more. But I can't imagine buying it on the Switch. I've got so many other games to play. But yeah, Swinny, like kind of segueing to you for your bit as well, like Death's Door, you know, what do you think of it?
Oh, look, it's an absolutely wonderful game. What I've played so far, I'm not very far in. I'm up to like the second boss, whatever that is. So I guess through the first main area of the game. But I saw that there was that challenge run to beat the game with only the umbrella.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So
the achievements are crazy in this game, man.
So I've been using nothing but the umbrella so far, and it's really fun.
The umbrella's not that bad.
It's like half the hit points, right, or something like that.
It's like half the damage that you do to enemies, but obviously, and it stays like that. I'm assuming, you know, that's the way to upgrade. But obviously, you can upgrade your character in a way.
Yeah.
But I just thought, you know, that's funny, and so far it's fine. But obviously, it's the beginning of the game, you know. So, but yeah, I think it's a wonderful game. You can definitely see kind of like the inspirations from a whole bunch of different games come into it. But at the same time, it's sometimes just a well executed mix of different games is, you know, with a really nice, I guess, visual style to it is all you need. And I can understand why people love this game.
Yeah, like, can I add to what you're saying? Because I did think that when I was playing it, I'm like, this is just so well executed, like sound design, character design, just like systems, quality of life. It's very much like if I had another, you know, 5 to 10 hours of gaming per week that I could do, like it's like an instant, easy, I'd play this game. You know, I guess I was surprised that so many people were like, oh, this is game of the year. Like a lot of people were like, this is their game of the year. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like game of the year? Like, I don't know.
It's
I just don't
solid,
see it.
Same, and I played it. So I played it on Switch, and I don't know how far I got to be like 80% into it. Is my guess. I've unlocked maxed out quite a few of the abilities and stuff. But it's same sort of thoughts. I don't know. It's really solid. It's really polished, but something about it just doesn't get me to that. I love this game. Like I liked it, but I could never really say I loved it.
I still feel like it's
really
lacking
weird.
a bit of like charm or something. Like some
Which
of the
is also
puzzles,
weird because it's a
they're just
very
not that
charming
charming
game. You know what I mean? So it's hard to pinpoint it.
Yeah, I think for the puzzles for me, they're just all too rudimentary and straightforward. There's like no kind of like charming quirk about them or anything. But
What I love is that Acid Nerve, the developer, like I remember playing the original demo of Titan Souls and thinking, oh man, this is a really cool concept where you know, it's just a boss rush mode. So it's great to see them essentially get to this point where they're releasing this title that is
Very polished title.
incredibly polished.
it's and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's super solid. Like already, I feel like it could easily be an 8 or a 9 game. And I've heard good things about the whole game and the second half of the game as well. So I'm sure it could easily get to a 9. But yeah, Swinny, what else from you that you've been playing?
Yeah, so quite a bit. First, I've been checking out a lot of awesome games done quick for 2022.
Yeah. How much did they raise this year?
I think it's in the 1 Min for the Swin, so I'm not spoiling that.
Okay. Don't want to spoil that.
Yeah, I know. I think it's like 3.4 million USD.
Nice, that's awesome.
Record breaking. It's the most invested I've been in since they went online. Obviously, they had no real choice at the time to do that. But it does like the crowd and the atmosphere. But for some reason this year, I think they've done it in a way that I checked out a lot more. And some of my highlights, 2 specific blindfold runs, like watching a guy beat Sekiro in 2 hours blindfolded is just insane.
That's crazy.
Incredible.
Essentially one-shotting majority of the bosses. Not one-shotting, but as one trying. The Metal Gear Solid 2 tanker blindfold run was also insane. The Dark Souls all bosses race. Casio Mario World, one of the most recent renowned Mario hacks, and incredibly difficult watching them just destroy it. And Step Mania, if anyone wants to check one thing out from AGDQ, look up Step Mania. I don't know how that person is doing any of the stuff that's going on. It is absolutely wild. So awesome games done quick. In terms of games, I picked up Shadow Man Remastered, which came out this week. I've been eagerly awaiting this game to hit consoles after it hit PC April last year. I am a really big fan of the Nintendo 64. I say original, it came out on PC and PlayStation at the same time, but in my head, for some reason, it always got hype as a Nintendo 64 game. Such a really unique, morbid world, like really cool stuff going on. Story's just insane. Think about this was Nintendo 64, and this was a game where the main villains are serial killers, and they're like, you're reading the dossiers on them, and they're talking about like raping their victims and all these horrible crimes they do. And this is a Nintendo 64 game.
I love that.
But the thing is, with the remastered version, they upgraded obviously a lot, and they brought in a lot of cut content, and combined content was different from the PC and different versions. The Dreamcast version that eventually came out. But you can't get past that. The game honestly still looks incredibly rough, even with the remastered version. Like a lot of the textures, surely they could have done even more work to it. But I'm going to look forward to playing through it next couple of weeks, because it's a game I never completed start to finish. So,
just on the remasters, I was actually listening to this interview with a lady who's in the art department at Tantalus. So they're a Melbourne porting studio, and they're the folks that helped out on Skyward Sword. But she was talking about her experience on Twilight Princess HD, and she was saying how it was so frustrating, some parts of it where it's like we couldn't touch the geometry of the models. That was part of the deal. It's like, and it's a very businessy thing. It's something that I would like set up where it's like, okay, save time, don't touch the models, just build like a new coat of paint over there. But she was like, literally like, we just needed to like add one or two more vertices to be able to break it up, and then like the art would look so much better. But you've got like this, she would like, it's almost like 4K art on a blocky like model, because it's all the way back in the day on Twilight Princess, right? It's just like, it was quite painful at times. But I think they actually went back to Nintendo to go, could we like change this a little bit? And they're like, no. Like even for free, basically. Like they were like, "Oh, look, we'll just change it. We're not going to charge anymore." And it's like, no. The deal is this. It's like Nintendo seems like the weirdest company to deal with.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for someone playing that the first time, even the remastered version, because like it's pretty shocking. But I know the game is really solid, so it's like. Anyway,
do you want me to stream it on Twitch while you?
Yeah, I could stream it. Yeah, you can then see my reaction. I haven't played it all the way through.
And the next game I've been playing, but I'm not going to talk too much this week, is RPG Golf Legends. So that is the latest Kemco release, but just that's the last time I'm saying that word, because I've said it so much recently.
We've heard like 6 podcasts about it.
It's the last time on this episode.
Well, that's what I meant, like when I'm talking about this game. So this game is a mix of, I'm playing it on Xbox. It's basically a mix of Zelda and a golf game. So it's kind of, it's definitely got the inspiration from Mario Golf and Golf. It came out, the original versions of these games from this developer came out a year after Golf Story, so you could definitely say that they took something from them. But I'm near towards the end of the game. I was just playing it up until the end of the podcast. So some stuff that I absolutely love, some stuff that absolutely annoys the absolute shit out of me. So I will share my thoughts on it next week.
Most important thing, Swinny, is you're calling it RPG Golf Legends, I noticed.
Oh, yeah.
It's RP Golf.
I call it RPG Olf. So we've got 3 pronunciations.
RPG Golf.
And then you've got basically a new segment, Swinny.
Well, I've just put it in our run sheet because I'm going to be talking about a lot of Game Pass games. So I've actually played 9 Game Pass games this week. Including Death's Door, but I'm only just going to cover 3 of them this week. I've kind of spread it out across everything.
Can we just pause and sit in the pocket for a second of the fact that you made this resolution? Hey, I'm going to talk about every game that we tweaked it. We accepted that you're just going to talk about the games you haven't played. And then they do this acquisition, and then Xbox is like, fuck you, Swinny. Let's put Hitman, let's put this in, let's put hundreds of games in. It was like the worst timing.
I really hope if they decide to drop Call of Duty stuff, like that it happens next year, please.
You're going to have to play. Hey, the campaigns aren't that bad.
They're pretty good, the campaigns. They're pretty good.
But like for them to say all the Call of Duty games, here you go.
They might do it like they did with id, which is like drop it like 1 at a time or something.
They were dropping like 8 at a time. What are you talking about?
Can't neg on your resolution, sorry, buddy.
Go on.
Okay. All right. So played a bit of Spelunky 2. So I dabbled in the first game. Honestly, Spelunky 2 just like the first game, it's not my thing, but I so appreciate the game, if that makes sense. It's like I played, I'm like, man, I know how well made this game is. I've watched so many design videos and documentaries about how they do this stuff, but I can't get into it. It's such a punishing game. And it's very few roguelikes or roguelite. However, there's no persistence in this one. So whatever you consider with that, they have ever really grabbed me. But so I will appreciate Spelunky 2 from afar.
You just got to get good, Swinny.
Yeah.
Struggle with Dark Souls and stuff like that.
It is an incredibly good game. The next one is the game that is a bit of the buzz at the moment, which is Nobody Saves the World. So this is from Drinkbox, who
this looks cool.
Behind the Guacamole Melee games. So this game, you said, seems cool. It is really cool, actually. So it's an action RPG, kind of like your Zelda-ish, but with some stats and upgrades and things. But the big hook, at least so far, is that you change through different forms. So you start off as a nobody, literally, and then you unlock, as you can see on the B-roll there on YouTube, that you start unlocking. The first one is a rat, and then the rat can do different things. But for each form that you unlock, they've got little, almost like ongoing challenges that you meet, like poison 20 enemies and bite this many enemies and stuff. And then as you complete these challenges, it gives you XP and unlocks. And it seems really cool. I'm very early and I've only done like the first 2 like dungeons, but it seems really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to getting further into it. So,
Really cool. Very interesting.
The last Game Pass game that I'm going to talk about is a game called Ember, and oh god, this game is something else. So this is a sandbox firefighting game. I'd never heard about this game at all until I loaded it up. I literally didn't know what it was.
Is this the VR one?
It's definitely playable without VR, but maybe there is a VR mode.
I thought that was the main way that people played it.
So basically, it's like a sandbox firefighting game. There is a big multiplayer element, but you can play it by yourself as well. So you're chucked into a level with objectives like save this many residents or put out this amount of fire, whatever. Like, there's different objectives. I didn't get that far in to see that many of them. And you can equip different loadouts, like ladders at the beginning to then, you can essentially tackle them in any way you want. The controls are just absolutely horrible. I just could not deal with it. Like, I sat there for ages on Xbox adjusting the acceleration and the sensitivity for so long that I never got it to a point where I was happy. And I'm like, how? That just seems like not the easiest, but like out of everything that you have to get right, that just seems like such a proven thing that surely anyway.
It's a Miyamoto thing. The game feel is the most important.
So I honestly, I just didn't like the game. It's in general, I warmed up to it a little bit, warm up fire. But ultimately, it's not for me. So.
Well, this is just a running theme.
Well, that's what you get when you're playing a whole bunch of games that you go out of your way that you normally probably wouldn't.
Hey, wait, so you haven't played the Hitman games?
Dude, I said I've played 9 games this week. I'm not talking about them all now.
They didn't answer his question, though.
I can go. No, Hitman's not. The Hitman games aren't in those 9 yet. So.
Okay.
Oh, unbelievable, Swinny.
Do you want me to talk about Rainbow Six Extraction? Do you want me to talk about?
Hey, you could have told me about that. I would have played that co-op.
Do you want me to talk about paparazzi? I'll talk about all this stuff next week, man. I don't want to take up the whole show.
I do have a question though, quickly before you go into the last one.
Make it quick because I've got to get
really quick.
What kind of schedule?
Who published RP Golf?
What? Are you kidding?
It is they who shall not be named.
Damn it.
Oh, okay.
Kingdoms of Amalur Fate Sworn. So I'll try to get through this. So I played. This was the DLC that released mid-December that everyone would be waiting for. That had Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, the remaster that was put out 2020. And ultimately, they only added the achievement support last week, so that's why I was holding off to see what the hell was going on there. It was really weird. This is a pretty damn substantial expansion. So for anyone that obviously loves Amalur, this is going to be a no-brainer. There's, if you want more Amalur, you've got it. But they do actually add quite a bit of new stuff to this DLC. So first of all, there's this whole chaos mechanic. And when I talked about Fate Sworn in the past, I kind of glossed over this because I didn't realize how ingrained it was into everything about this DLC. So it's essentially entirely new. It changes the way combat works for certain enemy types. So what it is basically there's certain chaos type of enemies that have like a bar. It's almost like a shield above their normal health, and you can only use chaos weapons to deplete that. So you can basically only defeat those enemies with those certain type of weapons. Then you whittle them down to their normal health. So for a game that is all about its action combat, to actually change it up completely is a bit of a bold move, but I actually think it's really, really good. The main quest in the game is in Fate Sworn. It's not bad, but it's also not great. I actually really like the side quest content in this game and in Fate Sworn, though. I think it's really good. There's a lot to do. And yeah, it's just, you get some really cool gear, like really awesome gear in this. And yeah, so Amalur still has probably my favorite action RPG combat system ever. It's just so good. It's
very solid. Yeah.
It's basically like God of War, Darkstalkers, just really solid action gameplay. But it's about $30, but I think it's worth it if you want a more Amalur, because it took me about 20 hours to do everything in the game. Unfortunately, because of the developers being a little inept, unfortunately I have to do it all again if I want to get the credit for doing it all. So because it glitched out on me. So
I mean, you only played it because of the achievements. So
no,
yeah, you're gonna have to do
No,
it
he
again.
waited to play it for the achievements, but he's not only playing it for the achievements.
And then it
correct.
bloody
That is
glitched.
100%. Like I was super
God.
looking forward to this, but yeah, so
Kemco.
Wait, are you gonna do a proper review of this, like a full review?
no.
Oh, that's a
this is
shame. I reckon people would be interested to hear.
So basically, I'm going to wait to see if they patch it. It is a common issue that people know about. So if they don't, then I'll maybe sometime later this year, I'll do a bit of a speed run through it and just mop it up. So because I know basically what it is. One of the side quests, like I opened a random chest and it started the quest. And if you start the quest that way, you don't get credit for completing it. And I like it's a random chest. It's not like I knew it was going to trigger anything. So anyway,
It's really annoying.
Fate Sworn. Other than that, Fate Sworn's really, really good. If you want more Amalur.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks, Kemco.
Is this your new thing today? All right. Well, pseudo news. We did cover Activision Blizzard this week in a specific whole episode, 68.7, but Mike wasn't available for that. So, Mike, we do want to get your thoughts on the Activision deal, but I thought maybe it's best to ground it in some of the updates. So, yeah, sure. So, yes, like as we know, Microsoft has put a deal in for $68.7 billion to acquire Activision, and there's been two major updates since then, since we did the pod midweek. So I'll just read it out. So Phil Spencer posted during the week, in his only post since the acquisition, had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honour all existing arrangements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship. Interesting.
No, preemptive antitrust
Maybe.
messaging in there, huh?
But I do want to go to the GQ article he did recently, which, now this is Bethesda, ZeniMax, a fully acquired part of the Microsoft family. Very vague language, very similar to what they're doing with Activision Blizzard. And just to sort of turn to his quote around, what's going on with Game Pass and Elder Scrolls 6. And he's like, I'm not about punishing any other platform. Like, I fundamentally believe all the platforms can continue to grow. But in order to be on Xbox, I want us to be able to bring the full complete package of what we have. And that would be true when I think about Elder Scrolls 6. That would be true when I think about any other of our franchises. So I don't know. I feel like he's kind of having it both ways. But Mike, I want to get your thoughts on the acquisition. Do you think these things will be exclusive? Everyone feels to be flipping that Call of Duty is not going to be exclusive anymore. I find that dubious in the extreme.
I don't think it's gonna be an exclusive. I think, if it is an exclusive, that's one way to get a bunch more people onto Game Pass. But I'm talking shit here because I have no idea what he's thinking.
Yeah,
about.
none
I
of
don't
us
think
do.
it's
None
going
of
to
us
be
do.
an exclusive, obviously. I don't think it's necessarily a bad acquisition. I mean, we know we haven't covered it as a huge news piece, I don't think, but we know Activision's been in a bit of shit because of what Bobby's been doing mostly, and the way he's been running things. So it almost feels like a really expensive bailout to some extent. I don't know what. Look, in the end, they bought the IP, right? They bought the rights to the IP of those games more than anything else, and the talent that's behind the studio. They obviously didn't buy the CEO or any of that kind of very, very top end management, I'd imagine. But they bought the IP, and what they're going to do with that IP, I have no freaking idea. I think they're going to probably segregate and have some stuff that will be exclusives, just like what they did with Bethesda, and some stuff that I think they'll probably retain because they're still making too much money on PlayStation not to have it. I think that message that he sent out is probably twofold. Number one, I do actually think there's an element of worrying about antitrust, because I think the regulators, correct me if I'm wrong, still have to let the deal go through.
Oh yeah.
And there is an element of shit. Do they now have a really big monopoly on some huge studios here? I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for consumers in that sense. I don't. It's weird. I maybe on a slightly small tangent, I have a pretty love-hate relationship with Activision Blizzard, to the extent that I think I mostly hate the company.
You veto
what it
all
is.
their games.
I completely, yeah. I boycotted every single one of their recent games, and that's purely from a just a personal perspective. It's not because I hate Bobby or anything like that. It's because when I look at the list of games that they make, basically every single game, bar I can't think of a single one, is intentionally designed to get people hooked, to get people to purchase shit through microtransactions, whether it's their mobile section or whether it's stuff like COD, whether it's any of the other shooters that they have, whether it's Diablo. It's the same basic principle of getting people to repeat their game over and over again. They don't release games like, I don't know, even Assassin's Creed, where you can go through the journey, experience the game, spend a whole bunch of hours in it. Yes, there's some microtransactions, but then you can kind of move on with your life.
I'm not sure if I
Every
agree
single
with that,
game
though.
that they have is designed for you to keep playing and playing and playing.
But then
Well,
what
give me an
about Crash
example where they haven't.
4, Crash Nitro Racing?
But what I'm saying is those are probably by far in the minority of what they tried to do, and the studios that Activision themselves gobbled up. Because you got to think they gobbled up Blizzard, that effectively nowadays is Diablo and Overwatch, two games that are very, very repetitive in their nature, that are reliant on people playing the same stuff over and over again, and then they bought out a bunch of mobile studios, I think, as well, that relied on the same thing. So anyway, that aside, to me as a studio, I'm not a fan of the principle behind the studio and what their tactics were in terms of the games that they focused on churning out. They don't, really focus on churning out purely single player experiences for the sake of the enjoyment of the game. Their tactic was always clearly get people hooked on the game. So I don't know what to make of that. I think. Look, I'm not like, oh, that's it, I'm boycotting Microsoft now because it's not like that. I don't think like that. I just had
Doesn't it extend? Are you gonna keep boycotting?
It doesn't extend
Activision
because
Blizzard games, or?
they do a lot of other IPs that are clearly not designed to just waste people's time, in my opinion.
So once they become part of Xbox, are you gonna revisit your boycott then?
No, I still wouldn't play those games. I wouldn't play those franchises.
Well, even if it was like Crash 5.
No, I'll play probably something like Crash 5, yeah.
Oh, so
but
you're
I
just
wouldn't be
basically
playing...
talking about COD.
But that's it. I'm talking.
No,
I'm talking about everything but, I guess, Crash 5, because every single other IP that they have that I remember, and I'm sure there's maybe some more esoteric games that I'm not thinking of, but all the major IPs that Activision and Blizzard have, to me, have the same principle behind them, and I've been boycotting them for a while now because of that. They just don't respect people's time. So yeah, look, I don't think it's necessarily from a Microsoft perspective. I think is it a good investment? That's $68.7 billion US dollars, which is like close to 100 billion Australian dollars. 100 billion. That's a freaking insane amount of money on those IPs. And I know they're major IPs that are ranking in a lot of money that they see as continuously making money, and they're not stupid. I mean, they made good money out of Minecraft, for example, even though that was actually a bargain at the time when you think about it retrospectively.
It was like 2.5 or 2
something like
billion?
that. Yeah, it was like 2 point something. So like it was
Crazy when you think about
1/50th of this amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they do. I mean, the player base of COD is massive. The player base of Diablo is massive. The player base of
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft is massive. All those IPs have huge player bases, and they have the kind of player bases that are likely to keep being hooked on those games.
Candy Crush.
I've got Candy Crush. Yep. I've got friends who have spent over 1,000 hours on games like Overwatch, and they keep playing and playing and playing. And Microsoft knows those people will be around, and those, not just the people that are already into those IPs, but future generations. They're winners. Those games, they make the bucks. I think at least 3 of them are multi-billion-dollar IPs.
Oh yeah. Even World of Warcraft. I did the numbers the other day. It's like $1 billion of revenue each year.
Yeah.
Just from subscriptions.
Just
like
for,
that
yeah, exactly,
one
yeah.
subscription. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I think it's a smart enough move from Microsoft. I don't know that I didn't do the number crunching myself to kind of see what, but they're not idiots, obviously. They know what they're doing, and I think, they probably paid what they obviously imagine is a pretty good price for it, given the current circumstances of what's happening with Activision and Blizzard. Yeah.
And Swinny, just like on the updates during the week, do you think this changes your mind on COD? Like, let's be real, it's mostly about COD exclusivity.
This just cements my opinion even further, because the wording around this is existing contracts.
Yeah.
Desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Which is Warzone. That's Warzone to me. Like, that is the easiest out possible to say. It's Warzone. Like, we were always considering keeping Warzone on PlayStation, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or whatever the next one is,
It's about 7 or 8 now.
Or whatever. Like, no, but I'm saying, like, that's rumored to be the next one, but that one probably won't be. But the one after will be like, well, the campaign is exclusive to Xbox, but the multiplayer, we're going to roll that into Warzone. Like, to me, Warzone, it doesn't change at all. That I think that will stay, even if they change that to a new engine in 4 or 5 years' time. Warzone will stay multi-platform, whilst Call of Duty as a campaign will be Xbox exclusive.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, like, and I think the other element to it is as well. It's like our desire is to have Call of Duty on PlayStation. So we would love if you just allowed our app on your PlayStation store. Just a little app called Game Pass. It's no big problem.
So I'm just going to say this is all assuming Game Pass isn't on PlayStation. If Game Pass hits PlayStation, then who knows what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I'm working on the assumption that it won't be, but if it does, then it changes everything.
Yeah, I don't think it will ever be. I think
the one thing I'll say about this is that from a purely consumer perspective, it sucks, because it sucks that people don't have a choice. It sucks that people can't play these games just because they have the wrong platform, and now they have to invest another $750 getting another console, which they probably don't need because they don't really want to play all those other games on it. So it sucks from that perspective, absolutely. From the perspective of maybe some of those people will go out and do something else with their lives, I think it's fucking fantastic. It's a good opportunity to give up COD, give up all those games, and do something else with your life. So maybe it's not a bad thing. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll leave that as the final word on that.
Yeah, and if you want to check our final thoughts into Gots and mine, we both think it's a bad idea, or it's a bad thing. Check out the final thoughts section specifically of our episode 68.7.
Yeah, we've got all the time codes in there, so you can skip the 2 hours of conversation. Just give me a second.
Yeah, that was like at the 1.5 hour mark.
It was, yeah.
Wow.
All right, let's jump into the real new news of the week. I thought, given that we shit on Nintendo and Nintendo Switch Online and some of the crappy emulation that's happening with the 64, which they did, in fairness, they're going to address and they're going to look at, it apparently seems to be finally happening with some small fixes. So just bringing up Twitter now, hopefully. This Twitter user, Oatmeal Dome, who has done some random stuff in the community in that space, actually loaded in like a save to get right to the water temple and some other parts of the game to see what they look like, and was able to confirm that it does look like there are some small fixes. So there's no fog in this scene. There should be, but it looks a hell of a lot better than what it did before.
And the biggest problem with this as well is that from a mechanic standpoint, it broke that fight because you need to be able to see the reflection of Shadow Link to really do that fight well. So
Wow.
Yeah. So
and you know, there's a few other games. You know, I know with Paper Mario, there's some broken components to it where if you save in certain sections, it will just crash the game out and you just can't continue. But it is encouraging that it's starting to get slowly fixed, and I think this is like a fairly large fix. The other one is people are doing input lag tests, and they're finding it's like halving the input lag, which is quite massive.
That's pretty good. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, so like a game like Mario 64, which runs at 30 frames per second, which honestly always feels like it's 60, but it's just so locked in at 30, it actually feels all right. That has been dropped by like about 20 ms. So it's like, you know, more than, like, it's within the frame of like the actual game. So, you know, it's like one whole frame less in terms of lag, which is, you know, I think it's at a point now, you know, and the emulation in general, I played a bit of Banjo-Kazooie. I think it's kind of good enough that, you know, just a regular person playing it is not going to feel like this is kind of janky. And I kind of unfortunately think that's how it launched. Like, even a regular person would be like, dude, this is kind of like shit. Like, what the hell's going on with this? Like, you know, you play through Zelda, you're like, what the fuck? Like, this doesn't actually work. I can't even beat this thing. So I think it's really encouraging. Like, as I said, I think we've got to shout it out because we did slam them when it came out. And some cool games are coming
they deserve
out.
to be slammed, I think.
Yeah, I think
I mean, if you're going to release something as big as that and you're going to charge people for it, then you better damn do it properly. Not a half-assed job where you don't test half the shit and you just expect people to lap it up.
Yeah, and also
They
the
deserve
fact
the
in the
hate.
US, not here, but in the US, it was not just double the price. It was like 2.5 times, which is just like still unbelievable to me.
Atrocious
Like,
if you don't actually deliver a good product.
yeah. And
It's a
then
cash grab.
next month they're releasing Majora's Mask, which I've never actually played in beat. So I'm really keen to, like, maybe this is the way that I'll do it. I'd prefer to play it on my 64, which I actually have in my garage, but I don't have a good setup to my monitor and CRT for that. So yeah, and actually I don't have that game on cartridge, so that's probably the biggest impediment.
That's probably a
I'll
big...
just grab it off my shelf. If
Oh, sure. We'll just pass it through the podcast window.
I need to get myself like a frame meister or something to play my 64. So.
That's true. Oh no,
Or
like,
that's that special one that they released. I forget what it is.
I-
But the 64 specific device that plugs into a HD.
you don't even need to do that now. You just need to get a RetroTink 5X.
That's what I meant. That's
the latest and greatest in that space. But everyone's raving about that. From Mike Chi, good guy. Reached out to him a few times. But they also did confirm. So there's a data miner, Luigi Blood, who confirmed that the ROMs haven't been changed. They haven't manipulated the ROMs. So it very much does seem like it's the actual emulator that's getting improved. So I think it's positive. Look, like I always say about the 64 library, it's quite like narrow compared to other libraries like the SNES and NES. I know Swinny and I argue about this a little bit, but I just think that there's not that many games that they can actually release on the 64 that they have access to. One that I do wonder, because Donkey Kong Country 64 isn't on here, yeah?
Donkey Kong 64.
Donkey Kong 64, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know if it's on.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I don't believe so because I think Banjo-Kazooie was the first rare game that they've added in from memory.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like, I'm almost 100% sure now. That would be really cool, like, on this service. Like, I've never really gotten around to playing it too much. So it's either that or Banjo-Kazooie, which I've also not played. Like, surprisingly, just never owned it. So I played the start of that game like 100 times, and then just go, it seems really good. It seems like, you know, yeah, very decent platformer. So I'll have to get back to it one day. All right, well, jumping into the next news segment. Unfortunately, we can't show the clip for this, but Netflix has released the new trailer for the Cuphead show. So it was announced a few years ago, like, and now will be coming out on 18th of Feb 2022. It's going to have 10 episodes on Netflix, as I said. Originally it was meant to come out in 2020, but obviously with few little happenings in the world, it's been a bit delayed.
Just a few things.
Yeah, and very much seems to be like the perfect game to be translated to TV, given that the actual game is like full of animation, like old school 30s animation. and like it's kind of trying to be inspired by that, not like a one-for-one recreation. But I want to get your thoughts on it. So, Mike, have you watched the trailer? What you think of it? Are you gonna check it out?
Well, okay, so I'll be honest with you. My problem is I never played the game properly.
Sure.
So it's hard to have really good, detailed, proper thoughts on it. Yeah, we'll absolutely check it out. I think even though I never played the game properly, I was always intrigued by the game. I thought the animation was amazing. I thought the art style was really cool, unique, even though it copied an old era of animation. It was still very unique in its own right. So I reckon I'll watch this. This is absolutely something that'd be right up my alley. But it's going to make me play the game as well, obviously, and actually play it properly. So
yeah, and the game is so punishing.
I heard, yeah, which is maybe why I was like, too scared to actually start it properly.
How about you, Swinny?
Well, I'm just fresh off watching the Mexican runner do speed runs of that game in like 24 minutes. Like, it's absolutely insane what people can do in Cuphead. But
so would you say that you're better than most Cuphead players?
Never even played the game. No, that's that Cuphead joins the a small list of games that I know so much about, but I've never once touched. But I think it's a great spectator game, Cuphead, because it's so visual. And in terms of this show, like the trailer to me looks absolutely amazing. I love that they've obviously tied into all there's so many quirky characters in that game. There's so many cool bosses, and they've obviously they're expanding them into proper characters in this. I just think it looks great. I will check out obviously the first episode. If it doesn't hook me, I'm not going to sit there watching the rest, but I'll give it a good shot. But I think it looks great, and I love what they've done. They've got a Cuphead countdown website that's actually got interactive missions and hidden secrets, and I think content's unlocking over time to hype up the show. It's really cool when studios put a lot of extra work, and I know that the studio MDHR, the developers of the game, they're very hands-on with the show as well. So in the production, so I think
that's cool.
You can definitely see it in the trailer and the footage that's shown so far.
So for me, and this is why I want to talk about this, and you're probably like, why are we talking about this? I don't think it looked good. Like, I thought the animation looked... It's so stark to me how great the game looks, and then the animation of this just kind of looks to me like a bit of a cheap version of it. And I didn't really like the characterizations. There was just like a lot of things that I'm like, it's not really clicking with me. Yeah, and like this is why I wanted you guys to chat about it, because I know you were pretty hyped about it, or interested in it at least. But I think, like Mike said, like ultimately, like we'll just watch the show, right? Like I'll put it in the schedule that we'll take a gander at it, have some impressions of it. I'm sure I'll stomach an episode or two and see, what we think about it. Because they'll probably drop all the episodes right at once, like the classic.
I imagine
Netflix
so.
style.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I hate waiting another week for another episode of something. I never do that because
I don't
hate
mind
it so
that.
much.
I think like then it generates the whole Game of Thrones thing. When everyone's like waiting for the next one, chatting about the last one.
Yeah, but I hate that. I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to watch it and shut up about it.
See, I'm with Vindigot in that, because that's how Disney Plus do like the Marvel shows and Mandalorian and all that.
Mandalorian.
And I like being able to go on Reddit and read people's discussions around it, because if it's dropped all at once.
Well, it's cool. I don't want to do it, but I admit it's really cool.
If it's dropped all at once, then a lot of the little interesting things get missed, and everyone talks about the big stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Well, look, I may not like it myself, but it doesn't mean that I don't think it's a cool concept. The fact that people can create communities around that and chat about this and hype up and, what's going to happen next? Oh my God, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool.
The other part of it, and if you spoke to me 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I've watched so many TV shows.
10 and 5 years ago.
No, I'm just saying, I was watching so many shows. I've seen so many shows, right? That, I could watch those shows. I didn't have kids and all that kind of stuff. But now it's I don't have the time to be able to watch that many.
You gotta be selective.
So what I don't like about when they drop a whole bunch of stuff is, if it's a show I really love and care about, I'm on blackout, man. I don't check Twitter. I don't check anything, because I'm so many people just get off on spoiling stuff, or there's a part of The Mandalorian that got spoiled for me because I didn't watch it quick enough to when things got revealed, and I jumped on Twitter or something and I saw a headline and I'm like, what? Why? Seriously, it's been out for 5 hours. Do they have to put a headline like that?
Yep.
It just pisses me off. What happened to you with Metroid Dread, Swinny? It's seriously, give it a day or two before you start trying to spoil things for people.
Oh yeah, that. Yep.
But yeah,
What was the first Star Wars movie of the recent trilogy? I forget the name of it.
The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah,
I got
your
the biggest
thing.
stuff spoiled because I went on
You're on
some.
4chan. You deserve that.
I was on 4chan.
That's what you said. That's what you said.
No, I was on.
That's how I remember it.
No, I was on some random Reddit, and someone just decided to post it. I don't.
But that's Reddit, man.
I've not
get
gone.
random people.
I've not gone on 4chan for about 15 years or whatever. Like since it actually was a weird thing to look at, you know.
Since you got revealed as moot.
Oh yeah. No, that's definitely not a place I want to be these days. Cool.
The only thing I'd say is awesome.
Great guys.
I do hope that the second game in the Cuphead series is going to be called Two Girls and One Cuphead.
Episode 69, people. Let's get to 1 min for the swim.
I like that. Wow. All right, let's get to the next segment. So what we do is we wrap up the news, things that are exciting to us, but not enough that we can generate enough conversation to carry a clip. So Mike failed as
You don't
his
have to
little
keep
minute
reminding me
Mike.
or other people.
No, because I'm
we're
building
all
it
aware
up.
that I failed
I'm building
many
it up
weeks
for Swinny.
ago.
I'm building it up for Swinny. So now the new rule is that Swinny is doing 1 min for the swin, and each week we add one extra word to the limit of words that it's not even a limit. It's like the the amount of words that we need to cover. So it's 184 now. What did you want to say, Mike?
I was going to say, might I add that I failed because I was consistently given 200, and I wasn't the one writing them. He was writing them for me.
We're saying
He gets to write his own, and he gets way less words.
yeah, but we all know you're not going to do the work, so that's fine. So we're allowing it. So as always, being the gentleman that I am, I let Swinny start when he wants to start, and then we'll start the timer.
The long-delayed LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is finally coming 5th of April this year. GOSOY Tokyo has a release date dropping 24th of March for PlayStation 5 and PC. Ubisoft are making a VR firefighting game based on a new short docudrama called Notre Dame on Fire. Awesome Games Done Quick 2022 raised a record $3.4 million for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. Valve has released details for the first batch of Steam Deck verified games. Sony has renewed a trademark for Wipeout and Lemmings development brand Psygnosis. Over 30 employees at Raven Software voted to unionize amidst ongoing strikes. Bigwig's biggest deal of the year, GTA Trilogy gets a physical Switch release next month. 2021's Game of the Year, My Friend Peppa Pig gets getting a sweet next-gen upgrade. The legendary Rey Mysterio has been revealed as cover star for WWE 2K22. The Playdate handheld's pop creation tool is now available in open beta. Grasshopper manufacturer Suda51 has revealed it's had multiple meetings with Marvel, and an Italian Senate Zoom meeting was rudely interrupted by animated Final Fantasy porn.
Oh, too easy.
You were really nervous with that one. You were really trying to pound.
Well, because
Once you slip up, it's hard.
Last week
close.
I had 1 second left,
close,
so I'm like,
yeah,
I have to increase
Yeah,
it.
go
I
close.
have to increase it.
But you also tried to do me a dirty. You tried to start talking when I was almost on the downward ramp of just going, whenever you want to start, I'll be a gentleman. And you're like, bang. I'll get a couple of seconds.
Shit.
Very
So
smart.
I just wanted to get it done with. Let's just get through this shit.
I like this is him recording the podcast. Let's get through this shit. This is what happens when we have 5 podcasts in a month. Yeah, you know what? I'm really thinking about getting into the Lego Star Wars game.
That game looks awesome.
It looks awesome, right? I know that
They're really fun games, man. They're really, really fun games.
This one in particular looks even more awesome. So.
It looks like they've gone all out in this one, and it's taken forever to make it. They've always had a pretty good quality. I might just see when the reviews drop and see if it's half decent or not, because it seems like a really good mindless game, right? Where you can just kind of tune out and play on the Switch or whatever like that. I can hear a lot of clicking. I don't know who it is.
It's Mike. It's Mike.
Yeah, of course it is.
Well, he's looking suspicious.
This is what we always do. We always just to go, oh, who is it? And then it's always Mike. All right, well, let's get into our special features. So, it's finally time. We're talking about one of our favorite games ever, Donkey Kong Country 2. But this time, we've got the newbie to share his first time experience.
Yeah, tell us about it, Swinny.
His virginal Donkey Kong Country 2 experience.
Yes.
So this is part of our Game of Some Other Year 1995 series.
We should introduce that
as well.
That's right. So for the complete noobs out there, noobs to the show and the format, we have done a Game of the Year in the past of 2011, if I remember correctly.
Game of Some Other Year.
Game of some other year, where we go through select some of the top games of that particular year, and then we play each of those games, and then we review each one individually, and at the end we pick what we feel is the best game that came out that year.
Retrospectively,
and this year, retrospectively, of course, yeah. So there's nuances in there because we're not having the same experience as we did initially when we played it. So this time we're doing 1995, which is when Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest came out, even though I mostly played as Dixie Kong, but whatever, that's fine. It wasn't really Diddy Kong's Quest, it should have been Dixie Kong's Quest.
Yeah, I like how you keep saying it wrong. Kong? You keep on saying it wrong every time.
But it wouldn't be Dixie Kong because it's his girlfriend, and that would kind of be interbreeding between gorillas, and I don't think they do that.
Interbreeding.
Mike, that's why you got to play Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie's Double Trouble. So.
Do they reveal her true identity?
And try to read the title. Read the title of the game. Go read
Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. No, Diddy's Kong Quest.
Read it from the start.
Why is the apostrophe there?
Read it from the start.
It's a pun.
No, don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Donkey Kong Country 2.
I didn't know you were trying to hide that fact.
Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. Why? What's so funny? I'm not as familiar with the game. It's not fair.
It's not the game. Also, I love the way you say country.
Diddy, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest.
Conquest, yeah, Conquest.
Yes. Kong Quest.
I get the pun, but that's not the actual name, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is. That's the name of the game. Yeah.
Because he's on a quest to get Donkey Kong, and it's a pun of conquest.
That's right, he is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I get the title now. Wow. Wow.
So,
I should not be the one reviewing this game.
This is awesome so far. I have to say though, just because we haven't really brought it up, but Game of Some Other Year, we'll in a month's time have to determine what is the next year that we're picking.
Oh yeah, damn.
Now, I'm just flagging this right now. I'm not trying to, muddy the waters here, people. But, we've kind of done the 2010s. We've done the 90s. I think it's either going to be the 80s or the 2000s.
No, but 80s, man.
That's just
No,
my call.
We don't have to stick to that, but we'll see what.
No.
Well, but it's working out nicely, Swinny. It's
It'll
working
have
out
to be
nicely.
the 2000s, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
back to the topic at hand,
Yes.
which is Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. So this is the first time I played this game. Now I'm not a total noob to the Donkey Kong.
See, it's on the title. You can see it on the
Country.
YouTube clip.
It is.
You can say DKC as well.
DKC 2. No one says
No,
that.
I'm going to keep saying it incorrectly.
Diddy's Conquest.
Diddy's Conquest. So I'm not a total noob to these games because of you guys. I've played a bunch of the other games, but I do need to obviously be transparent and let people know that I wasn't unfortunately privileged enough to have a Super Nintendo when I grew up. I missed out in that era. And I do legitimately, I mean, I can't regret it just because my parents didn't buy me one because they couldn't afford one. But I do, wish that I had actually played some of these games back then because I think the experience, it would have been completely different. So as an adult that has played all these other games since this came out, my lens is completely different to the lens that you guys have. My brain, has to keep reminding myself that this is a game that came out in 1995, and that before this, there weren't that many games that achieved a ton of the stuff that maybe this game achieved. Subsequently, tons of platforming games, tons of really cool games that came out, but it's really hard for me to put this through the lens of experience, if that makes sense. So I played probably, again, in the interest of transparency, because I try to be open and honest with these things, I probably played about 70% of the game, between 70 and 75. And I only know that based on the fact that I actually watched the video of the rest of it, just to see what I missed out in terms of the rest of the levels. So look, I played a good chunk of it, like most of it in that sense, in terms of the ratio. And there were parts that I enjoyed. There were parts that I think I totally appreciate more so from the perspective of how good it was back then in 1995.
Can I just say, you are being so cautious. You're like tiptoeing right now.
I'm not trying to tiptoe because I'm really torn about this game because on one hand, I I see how good it is, and I see the elements that I too enjoyed. But on the other hand, I have to admit, I wasn't the biggest fan. And I'm not trying to, I don't want to offend anyone because I know a lot of people think this is one of the greatest games ever. And I actually,
there are people that don't like these games, so
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
like think you're like being contrarian about
no,
this.
I'm not trying to. I don't think I'm being contrarian. I think after a while, I liked it at the start, but after a while, it almost became a chore playing the game, if that makes sense. That I just wasn't really into it. I wasn't really into how unforgiving it is. It's the bloody Dark Souls of 1995.
Whoever's playing this on our YouTube clip is just abusing the bloody save state system like an arsehole. Just need
that
to
totally wasn't me.
that out.
I did look. I tried not to use the safe state because you guys told me not to use it.
Oh,
I think it was you, Swinny, that said don't do it.
No, I said that. Look, I don't think you'll probably appreciate like the way that you learn the levels if you save state the whole thing. Now it's one thing to save state here and there, but it was my recommendation. I wasn't trying to.
No, I thought it was a good recommendation. I did end up using it in a whole bunch of different parts. So, for example, that boss, the flying wasp boss.
This person is. We need to start recording our own footage. This is terrible. I like how we're stealing this person's footage and then just calling them out.
But yeah, so look, overall, it wasn't the fondest experience. I didn't think I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. By the way, it could also be that I'm just not huge on side-scrolling platformers. I grew up with some of that generation, but more Commander Keen, Dangerous Dave, more those kind of games, which aren't that much easier in their own right, but overall, look, my thoughts are it's a very solid game. Oh, and one thing that I remembered is the music. I freaking love the music. To the extent that I actually went and just put it on YouTube while I was doing other shit. There's a few tracks that are just absolutely amazing.
What are some of your favorite tracks?
I don't know the names of them, but there's one. The one that's by far my favorite was the one in the area where you tend to fly with the parrot and you've got the vines with the spikes.
Sticker Brush Symphony.
That's the one. It is a freaking amazing track. It is such a cool track. And what I found really weird is how instantly I loved that track. Even though I didn't play the game, or I'm almost starting to wonder though if I actually did play this when I was younger, just not enough, or I saw people play it, and because that music felt nostalgic. Which is really weird if I've never played the game properly, right? So either I had seen it or the music is so bloody brilliant that it can give you a sense of nostalgia without actually even playing the game originally.
I've seen a lot of, not so much these days, but like a lot of YouTube videos and channels, they would like put that as background music. So it's very possible that you've heard some of the stuff from this soundtrack simply because people loved to just chuck it in the background of when they're talking over stuff. So.
One thing I would say though as well is that the Sony audio chip on the SNES is very distinct, and it's sort of almost like the whole thing is a bit nostalgic it's like when people make new music for like Game Boy or NES or the SNES. It's very like iconic or automatically. It's a good song as well, by the way.
It is. One last thoughts before I pass it on to you guys that have obviously played the game back in the day as well is, whether I like it or not, I appreciate the design behind it. I appreciate the level design in a lot of instances. I appreciate the way you have to do certain things and memorize certain patterns.
Sorry, the person save scummed the target at the end of the level. Like, that is a new level low. Sorry to interrupt. I just couldn't believe what I saw in the YouTube clip.
But see, this is the challenge to us, Swinny, for us to record more of our own gameplay.
I know. I could not believe they just did that.
I know. I saw it coming.
Scum of the earth.
Not even I would do that.
Save scum of the earth.
Well, I mean, just in terms of like what we think about the game, I had to check what it was. But if you go, it's amazing. It's so long ago now. But if you go to episode 14, Swinny and I cover this game like completely, like do a whole review of it or retro review of it. So that's sort of like part of our thoughts. But like, I love this game. I'm really glad that because we did the whole Donkey Kong Country series, Swinny, that I finally got to play and beat DKC 3 because I didn't do that back in the day, and I do miss the overworld structure of DKC3. Like, that is such a cool addition to that game. And it would be sick if they had that in DKC2. And, you know, it is something significant. Like, I could imagine if that was your favorite game, that whole element, how it all sat together with the rest of the game, could be a big thing. And it's sort of like a bit of a dividing factor between this game and DKC3. But this game is just super nostalgic for me. I love it so much. I think it holds up. It's interesting that you didn't enjoy that as much, Mike. I don't think you're the biggest platforming person, though.
I'm not, and I think nostalgia. I mean, it's like I said, it's a well-designed game. I even love the humor in it, especially for the grandpa. There's very fourth wall breaking stuff that he talks about, and I actually listened to this stuff because I found it hilarious. But I think there is an element of you had to be there at the right time in your life to play this kind of a game that I think as an adult with everything else that's around, it's really hard to appreciate it the same way. And I feel like I couldn't do the game justice, if that makes sense. And I'm always disappointed at myself that I couldn't do the game justice because you can clearly tell it's a brilliant game.
Mm. How about you, Swinny?
Yeah, look, we spent an hour talking about this, so I really recommend it. Maybe we'll add it into the description of this clip on YouTube. But look, this game was just such a huge improvement over Donkey Kong Country 1. You know, it had tighter controls. Donkey Kong Country 1 looked good. This game looked amazing. Like, it just stepped it up so much. Like, to just think, like, no SNES games looked like this. It was insane, like, what they did with the hardware. And you mentioned the music, Mike, like, not just the songs, which are amazing, probably one of the best soundtracks of all time, easily on my top 5, I'd say. Just the production, the little things like the crickets chirping in the swamp, and like when you're in the pirate ship in the water inside the pirate ship, the music that sounds like it's, you know, like outside the ship against, like, just the production of that is just great. I mentioned this a little bit when we did our deep dive, but this is one of the first games that I can remember that really made it felt worthwhile to actually hunt down and 100%, like the concept of 100% in your game. Because the reward was worth it. Unlike something like Mario World, where sure, there's 96 exits, but you don't really get anything for it. Whereas this game, you got extra content. You got secret bosses and endings and stuff.
I saw all that stuff. It was really cool.
And so it's really awesome. There's, like, I don't think this is a perfect game. Like, the middle part of the game's probably a little meh for me. Some of the levels, like the fire, forest, swamp areas. That's where some of, you know, like, to me, this game's all about, it's like the start and the end, but the end is brutal. Like, difficulty-wise, this game, those last run of like 4 or 5 levels are so tough. And so from a difficulty standpoint, I think, you know, they needed to smooth that curve a little bit. But overall, Donkey Kong Country 2 is one of the best games, especially one of the best 2D platformers I've ever played. Definitely a strong contender for Game of Summer of the Year 1995.
Yeah, I think extremely strong contender. Obviously, Mike's going to be a no vote for that, but I think a very strong contender.
Depends. Maybe the other games are worse.
But the last thing I wanted to say on it, and I don't know if I've heard someone have this take, but I do look at Donkey Kong Country, the 3 games that came out on SNES, and there's a bit of a parallel to me with the original Star Wars trilogy. So Donkey Kong Country 1 comes out, like amazing graphics, things you haven't seen before for what it was in the time it was, and very much like A New Hope. Like, holy shit, what is this thing? But when you pull it all apart, it's kind of a bit simplistic. You know, there's some like edges to it that need to be smoothed out.
Some bad hitboxes.
Yeah. And then, you know, you go to like Donkey Kong Country 3, which I kind of think there's a parallel with Return of the Jedi, where it's like much more colorful, much more kind of kiddie, like very like bigger budget, more stuff in it. I'm gonna get rid of this B-roll because the save's coming, even pissing me off now. You know, there's some stuff in it that I don't like, that it's almost like a bit like cringy. That's very similar to Return of the Jedi. It's almost like too kiddie, too colorful. But this to me is like Empire, where it's like, it's kind of dark for a kid's game. Like the theme, the art, the style of this game, Diddy's Conquest, it's like very dark and gritty. The music's awesome, and very much like Empire to me, which is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Very gritty, very kind of like all the way through it. But yeah, like I love this game so much. For me personally, could easily be the #1 game of 1995. Now that I've played Earthbound and Chrono Trigger, But yeah, we'll have to see with the determination in about a month's time, I think it is now, Swinny.
Yeah, and the next game we'll be covering is Yoshi's Island,
Ooh.
almost the direct competitor in terms of debate to Donkey Kong Country. I'm really looking forward to playing through that again this week. So.
Have we ever covered that on the show?
No.
Wow, interesting. Because Yoshi's Island, just for people for next week, yeah, that's like one of Swinny and my favorite games of all time. Like, that game is amazing. Yeah, we'll cover it then. Like, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff there. All right, well, our final segment, and we're all very excited about this. We thought a very special episode 69, and Mike is a big fan of the theme of this week.
I am.
No,
It only happens once, baby.
I'll
So
hand
we got to
it.
do
Well,
it
this is
justice.
our only 69 of our life.
Yeah.
So let's jump
Only ever had
into
one
it.
69.
Go,
Why
Mike.
do you even have a 69?
Go, Mike. Go.
Mike,
Three.
this is your
People.
your time. It's your element. Come on, go, rush.
So I am taking a very, very nostalgic trip back to my glory days of being a 10-year-old playing a game called Sextris. Now, what is Sextris for the uninitiated amongst us? It's basically Tetris. I mean, it is Tetris. It plays like Tetris because it is Tetris. It's the Tetris rules. It's the Tetris gameplay, Tetris look and feel, but with a twist. And the twist is every time you get a line, and this is mostly for people who can't see the screen right now because they're listening to the audio podcast that we have. So every time you get a line, it reveals a bit of an image. Now, what is that image, you might ask, given that it's called Sextris? I wonder. It's very, very softcore, Playboy-esque style imagery.
So, Mike, can I ask where can you play this fabled Sextris?
You can actually play it.
And when did it come out?
And
Okay,
wait, before you go on, can I also say, if you're no longer finding the YouTube channel, you know the reason if you're listening to the audio podcast. And the second thing is, I don't condone this. I'm not involved in any of this. This is all Mike and Swinny. So continue on, Mike. Continue on.
Yeah, it was our crazy idea. So the game came out for PC back in 1992. Back in 1992. Well, that's
Good old DOS.
that's 30 years ago when you think about it. This came out 30 freaking years ago. And let's face it, this completely altered the direction of my life in such a fundamental way that I think no game has done that since, or obviously before that. It had a huge impact on my life.
So quite a few episodes ago, we did a whole feature on our childhood memories of playing games, and of course, Sextris came off the mic. So
It did. Well, look, honestly, all jokes aside, it absolutely is. It's impossible for a 10-year-old not to play a game like this and just be wowed. So while you guys were playing Donkey Kong, I was playing this, basically. It wasn't out yet, but, give or take about the same timeline. Now, so this game only came out on PC, I
feel
think.
like there's got to be some joke about some monkeys spanking. Like with
Probably is,
Donkey
actually.
Kong.
well, actually, if you were, no, I won't dox you. That's all right. I was about to say. And,
let's not do that.
Yeah, don't.
All right, so let me quickly give a bit of background about this game. So it came out in 92, so 30 years ago. As far as I'm aware,
oh my God.
30 years ago, exactly 30 years ago, yeah.
old.
As far as I'm
So
aware,
you're 40 then, based on your maths. Yeah, go on.
shit, yeah, about that actually. Wow, damn. Well, I didn't play it at the time. I wasn't actually. Does that mean I was even younger when I played this?
Go on.
Holy no! See, I would have played it in like 94, 95, I reckon.
And can I just say, for the
this.
people who are like monitoring our YouTube page and get to ban our channel, we've put these censor bars over. There's nothing below them. We're just doing it as a joke.
There actually
They're
isn't
all,
really
they're all
anything.
PC images.
That is actually, that's no joke. Yeah.
The first one actually does.
No,
the
it doesn't,
very
Mike. No, it
first one.
doesn't, Mike.
Doesn't? I
No,
mean, it
there's
doesn't.
nothing, there's
But no,
nothing.
legit, there
We're
is
just doing it as
actually
a
nothing
joke.
under this. There isn't. It's a joke. You can play the game. You can play this game on online. You can download it for DOSBox because it's part of a lot of abandonware websites.
Can you buy it from like GOG or something?
No,
okay.
not
You
that
can
I'm
play it in.
aware
You
of.
can play it in browser. Like
You
there's sites that
you
just
played
have
it in the
it.
browser, yeah. A lot of the footage that I took here, this is actually my gameplay, so please don't critique my
It's better,
Tetris
it's
ability
better.
or lack thereof.
If you actually
But-
Google Sextris, what actually shows up a lot is there's like a SNES hack that's like a version of
but
columns
it's a different
where
kind of game.
yeah, where the actual pieces are bodies
Yeah.
themselves, and it's like some hentai game.
No,
Oh.
this is the definitive Sextris. Now, There was actually
only.
a Porntress as well,
Oh no.
which all I can say is, as a kid, being 8 or whenever the hell I played this game originally, it didn't make sense at first. Like, this made sense. I get it. I'm like, all right, I get that they're scantily clad women, and even though I'm only 10 or 8 or whatever the hell I was at the time,
Did he stop mentioning age, please?
I feel compelled to play this.
So you understand
there's something innate.
the conceit of the game, whereas Porntress is too far.
Whereas Pontius, like, what the hell is this? What are these people doing? And that concept was a bit foreign to me at the time.
Yeah,
Well,
because
not
you're a
just
child. You're a child.
super foreign, but I was a
You're
child, right?
Not much older than my son, which is very scary and creepy.
But I still actually do remember even Porntress, because Porntress was animated. This
Okay,
wasn't. Porntress actually had
we didn't
animations.
authorize you talking about
So,
Porntress.
okay, anyway,
okay.
let's go back to this.
Oh my
Let's go back
God.
to this. So this game, as far as I'm aware, only ever came out in the Spanish language, which is why you see puntos, which I'm assuming means
Well,
points.
okay, let's not.
and nivel, which means level. And it was done. It was created by two dudes, as far as I'm aware. Programming by Inigo Ayo, and graphics by Carlos Bolosa. Yeah, Bolosa. Now, I don't want to dox anyone or get anything involved. I don't think
just
this
read their names out there. Go on.
Well, because you can find this information on the page for the game anywhere.
Sure.
Now, I did a little bit of digging, and Inigo Ayo, I hope I pronounced that right and I didn't butcher his name. I would love to meet this guy one day, because he needs to realize he's had a massive influence on my life. He has, more than probably any other game developer ever, when I think about it.
So, Mike, with your resolution that you didn't do last year of making a game, you should have made a remaster.
I should have just made a remaster of this. See, I would if I didn't worry about licensing and all that shit. But I guess if it's for personal use, who gives a shit? So anyway, so this guy, based on the research that I've done, was a developer prior to this, was a developer after that. However, the graphics person, I couldn't find any references other than it's a brand name, like a fashion designer or like a fashion store or something, in Spain as well, I think. Which is interesting, and it got me thinking: is that the same person? Did they kind of pivot from being into graphic design for a game like this to opening up their own business in fashion or something?
They're for such a
Probably just a
weird,
coincidence.
for such a weird game like concept. There's a shockingly little amount of information out there about this.
I know,
game.
right? It's really fascinating. But here are some a couple more interesting little tidbits about the game. So, well, first of all, when it comes to the game itself, if you're actually watching this on YouTube, it plays exactly like Tetris, with a very slight twist in the sense that once you hit, and it doesn't show it in this properly, but once you hit a certain level, it makes the game a bit more difficult by introducing extra pre-made lines. So at one point, you basically get a grid of lines that only really line pieces can go through. So it gets more difficult, and then the speed increases, and it's a typical. It gets harder, but not just harder because it's faster, but harder because of the extra challenge that it introduces. One thing that I found pretty funny though is you can actually put in the cheat command to be able to just view the images, which blew me away, because as a kid I would sit there for hours and hours and hours trying to bloody go through the whole thing, and it got ridiculously hard at the end. Because I have a feeling, I don't know if this was designed for a 286 and I had a 386, and it probably ran slightly faster than it was supposed to run.
Your PC not optimized.
So it was even harder. It was over optimized for Sextris. So it was running even faster than it was supposed to run. But as a kid, I'm like, I'm determined to see all the titties in the world, and I'm going to bloody see
calm
this.
down. Calm down.
Anyway,
He's talking about Sextris, let's be real.
I am talking about Sextris.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to get the whole channel taken down for this.
Now, anyway, so they had this cheat thing, and it said that in order to view them, it said you must be, because I don't know, they're assuming that as a kid you can't actually play the game. Although it gets ever so slightly more explicit, if you could call it that, in the later stages of the game. Again, super tame. Really, really tame by today's standards. But it says you have to be 21 to run this program, and to verify your age, you got to answer 3 simple questions.
Oh, can we do the quiz? Can we do the quiz?
Yeah, okay, you guys can do the quiz. So, question number 1, and I'm gonna read it verbatim. Who did sing Sergeant Pepper? Was it 1, I Was Not Born Then? Was it 2, ABBA? Was it 3, The Beatles? Or was it 4, Elvis Presley?
Elvis. It's got to be Elvis.
That's easy.
Definitely Elvis.
We fail. That's
You
it.
failed,
We're
you
not
can't
21.
see-
Oh,
you
we're not
can't see
21.
the images now. Okay, let's assume you did actually pass that though, and you got onto question 2. Which company does Bill Gates boss? Obviously, at the time, these guys were not native English speakers. So
Can we,
whatever.
if we ever
Give us
get
some credit.
merch, can we get like one that says Sextris and on the back
Which
of it?
company does Bill Gates boss?
Which company does Bill Gates boss?
What are the options? What are the options they give us?
Imagine if this actually did get some traction and there's a resurgence in Tetris and a resurgence in Sextris.
What are
Oh my
the
God.
options
Okay, so
for-
option number 1, IBM. Option number 2, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Option number 3, Digital.
Microsoft. That's a good name for this kind of game.
It kind of is actually. Maybe Microsoft should be buying this game. Or option number 4, Compaq.
Compact. That's a name I've not heard in a long
I
time.
know.
Do they
Are they still
exist?
around?
Yeah, I
don't know.
actually.
It's
Incidentally, my 486 was a Compaq. so there you
I
go.
think Bill Gates boss Microsoft.
Yeah, I think so too.
You
Did
reckon?
we get that right?
Are you sure you want to
What's
lock
the
it
last
in?
question?
Okay. Number 3. How was your first time?
No.
I swear to God.
wait.
Was
How,
it 1?
how is there a definitive answer for this?
Well, because I actually don't know because I didn't try getting the wrong answer. But number 1, don't remember. Number 2, haven't got one yet. Number 3,
one
I
yet.
don't know what you mean. And number 4, none of your business.
What is this real?
100% real. You can try this
Yeah.
out.
Awesome.
And by the way, the answer for that one, well, at least the answer that gets you what you want to get to is
Gets you
4,
what you wanna get to.
none of your business.
None of your business was the answer.
Well, I don't know if some of the other answers also do it,
Maybe it's
but I'm
better
pretty sure
images.
that's probably the answer you want.
So can I just say, Compaq was acquired by HP in 2002 for 25 billion. In
There you go.
2002.
25
And
billion.
the
Whoa.
brand remained used by HP for lower-end systems until 2013.
What an
Wow.
insult!
So-
What an insult! It's like
Yeah.
we use it for lower.
Damn.
Well, isn't that what happened with Nokia and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, so 2013 was when the death of Compaq.
There you go.
Now, so a little bit of extra, digging that I did of a couple of interesting little things.
Can I also
Diving,
say this is the most work you've ever done for the podcast?
Probably is the most work I've done for the podcast. You should see the work I did after this research. So
Oh, no.
one of the actually you probably shouldn't see that. So one of the things that was interesting is they used a lot of images that I assume they got from Playboy magazines or something.
Oh, really?
And I think it is the case because it happens to be that the very first image it has the name of the ladies on each level, and the name is Vanna, Vanna. So I'm like, okay, I wonder if I
God.
could research a bit about this and whether it's a real
for
thing,
research
whether it's a
for
real
the podcast.
person.
This is a well-known fact, by the way, to guys.
But this is a well-known fact, and it's actually quite fascinating.
Well,
so,
it's not a well-known fact, by the way, right? I understand that
Well-
you guys know it. That doesn't mean it's a well-known
no,
fact.
I'm saying a well-known fact if you know of the existence of this game. So
yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that.
So Vanna turns out to be Vanna White, who's an American television personality that is the hostess of Wheel of Fortune.
still to this day,
Still to this day, from 1982.
Whoa.
So
Vanna White.
while she was
Sextris-
hosting Wheel of Fortune, as far as I'm aware, she went on to do some shots for Playboy, and one of those images happened to appear in this game. So Vanna White has indirectly, without knowing anything, affected this 80-year-old kid on the complete
God.
other side of the planet. Why not even watching Wheel of Fortune? I don't know. I just think the interconnection, I'm not even kidding. I feel like,
Connection.
well, I do. I feel like the interconnection between people and it's almost like it's the butterfly effect, right? There was no way in hell when Vanna White went to do that Playboy shoot, there was no way in hell that one of the thoughts in a million years crossed her mind where she went, oh man, I wonder if like this poor kid on the other side of the planet in some freaking communist nation through this medium of video gaming will see my titties one day and it will completely influence
All
the
right.
rest of his life.
You can't use that word again.
Okay, I will try.
We've
Can
reached
you
our
beep it?
threshold. No, I can't.
Okay. So So really, like, it just astounds me. I think it's amazing. I want to reach out to this lady, and
Oh yeah, I'm sure she'd love
but
that.
I don't really want to bring up the past because apparently she's not very happy with the fact that she did those shots from the articles that I've been reading. I don't even know if she knows that she's in this game though, to be honest. So other than this, like, I guarantee you she wouldn't know that she's in this game. So we probably shouldn't bring that up.
When we happen to interview her on
we
Week
happen
in
to bring her on
Gaming.
the show.
And we also put her in the video because she's the first person.
Well, she actually is the first one, yeah. Shit.
Because
But
I'm playing
anyway,
the game right now.
So look, I think, and one thing that I would say is from the perspective of a Tetris game, I think it's a very good Tetris game.
I challenge you on that.
No, the images aside, no, I love it because it's a very pure Tetris game. Ironically,
I think it's
you
pretty
know what I mean.
janky.
I know it doesn't seem like a pure game in that perspective.
It's purer
But
than
no,
NES
no, it's
Tetris.
janky because I played it. If you play it through the browser, it's janky. If you actually play it on a machine, it runs fine.
Oh, okay.
It's just,
as long as it's a
worse on
286, not a 386.
But yeah, to be careful with that. Especially if you've got the turbo button on. Oh, you're screwed. So,
I like we're judging the quality of Sextris's gameplay right now.
Why not?
well, here's the catch though, right? While you're playing the game, you don't have time to, especially when on the
Oh, no,
fast
no,
you don't
no,
even have
no,
time
no.
to look.
All right,
You don't even have time to look. You
we're
have
getting
to focus
close.
on the game. You have to focus on the proper game. You do get at the very end, which is now, it does pause the game until you press another button, which is good. So you do get some time to actually enjoy the spoils of your gaming. But it's certainly not. You play the game because it's Tetris. I think you really play the
I
game
don't think you
because
play
it's
it
Tetris.
because it's Tetris. It's a bad
I
version
think-
of Tetris.
I would say at the time on DOS in 1992, this
It
was
was
probably
good.
this was probably the only version of Tetris that a lot of people had because they shared it around. You know,
Probably.
Yeah, how did you
I'm
get a
sure
copy
was
of
shared.
this?
So I'm gonna dub him in now. So my mum was having an affair with this dude.
What? What?
Yeah. And that dude gave me a whole bunch of games, shareware games on a on
I
some
actually
floppy
don't know the
disks.
story about you. What?
Yeah, I thought I told you the story.
I don't think
And-
so. I think I would have
I really
remembered
like the
this.
guy. I actually still
Mike-
speak to him to
Mike,
this
do
day,
you
by the
really
way, as an
want to
adult.
go
Speak to him to
further?
this day.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. Yeah.
What? Does your dad
do you-
know about this?
No, and I hope he doesn't find out on
all
this
right,
podcast.
right, maybe Mike. Why are you telling this story?
It's on
Why-
the freaking podcast.
I don't know, because it's what it is. So,
What?
yeah, so I still speak to the guy to this day. I got nothing against him. If anything, my God, he influenced me quite strongly for the rest of my life.
What the hell, Mike?
And he's a really nice guy. He's a really, really nice guy.
He's a great guy.
So-
He gave a child a porn game. It's
well,
great.
it was a different
Fantastic.
era, man. It was a different era.
different
I don't
era.
even I don't even think he knew it was on there, to be honest.
Oh,
so
okay,
I shouldn't blame him like that.
that's a
It's
bit
not like he
different.
came
That's a
and
bit
goes, "Hey man, let's check this shit out."
No,
He
that's a bit
didn't do
different.
that.
I'll
I
give
don't
you that.
remember that happening. I think it was more. Here's a bunch of games that happened to be one of the games.
That's different.
I
That's
opened it.
different.
I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing.
And then you're searching for the dodgiest game possible. And you found
Obviously.
it.
So yeah. So look,
Wow.
I want to hear your thoughts, Winnie, because I think you read a bit about this as well.
No. I tried to like look up any trivia, and literally the only thing I could find was like, I think you mentioned it potentially the Twitter account of the guy who programmed it, but
Yeah, I reckon that's
the
him.
only reason, like other than it being named the same, is because people were tweeting at him about Sextris. So,
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
but also
poor
because
guy.
his no, but if you looked at look, I don't want to dox the poor guy. But
Well,
it's
kind
he
of
public,
already
said, he
has.
said his
it's,
name.
it's
earlier.
public
what I said.
information. It's
Yeah, but
public
then
information.
That's doxing in a way, though. Sometimes
Well-
it is public. Doxing's the point
No
of
one's
like.
gonna
you're-
watch this video, and if it does, you know what? Kudos to him for creating one of the greatest games of all time. I think
Greatest games of all time.
I think the guy is a game developer, and he was a game developer and a programmer before this. And honestly, I would love to buy the guy a coffee one day. I would love to go to Spain, which I assume is where it's from because the game is Spanish. And one of my life goals now is to buy this guy a coffee. I shit you not. If I ever go to Spain, I'm
Yes,
going to hunt him
fucking-
down and I'm going to buy him a coffee and talk to him about this game. Yeah, he completely corrupted an 8-year-old kid or whatever the hell age
yeah,
I
I'm sure
was.
he'd be pleased so much. to
Whatever,
him.
I turned out alright, I think. Kinda. Anyway, so do you have any other thoughts on this, Swinny? From anything else you read
No,
about?
I was just saying, could you rearrange his name and it's like a pseudonym for some
Maybe
real
it
person?
is.
But
No, I think
it
it's-
doesn't
it's
come
real-
up with
it's
anything
real.
interesting.
We
It's a real
gotta
person.
like. So the thing is, like, it's like my kid, right? He's growing up in an era where he knows there's the internet. He knows things are permanent. He knows, like, if he takes a photo or sends a message, that's never going away, right? The unfortunate thing for everyone else, who, like us, who was born in an era where we didn't know that, people did shit and we're like, I'll just fucking do this. Who cares? No one's ever going to see this, you know? And now the internet has discovered everything. You know, it's like, so that's where I kind of feel bad for some of these people, and that's why I would never chase them down, because it's like they're probably just thinking, oh look, this is a paycheck, move on, pays the rent for 1 month, and then I move on with my life. And it's haunted him forever, So it's like,
well, shit. Haunted. I don't know. Has it haunted? Because I don't know how he feels about it. I have genuine appreciation for this guy. Like, I genuinely would love to meet this guy. It's not.
But I mean,
same as the artist that did it.
But you think, like, if he goes to work for a company or something, then they do a bit of research on him. Like, definitely could harm you. Like,
now,
the people are a bunch of prudes, but
the PC
different era, man.
The PC gaming space, like in DOS gaming, like such a wild west.
Oh
Wild West.
Like the amount of there's stuff that I've vaguely remember. Someone's like, oh, here's a bunch of shareware games, and it's just dodgy crap on there. And it's just because anyone could really do anything, and all it took was almost like the internet. It was like viral before viral was a thing, like physically it got shared around to people.
But I feel like this isn't even, when you actually really think about it, this isn't even that bad. The images aren't that explicit.
No, I've played through like a stack of levels. They're pretty.
Yeah.
They're
really
tame. They're really tame.
Even for back in the day, they're extremely tame.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff that was, especially if you were in Germany and shit. And I have first-hand experience from going into some of those shops, again, when I was probably a little too young. Because Germany was pretty liberal with that kind of stuff. Like, they would let kids go into adult stores and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Accompanied by an adult.
No, they're still very liberal with that stuff.
Yeah, which, by the way, honestly, man, again, look, I'm not defending this or anything. I am glad I grew up in that era. I'm glad I grew up in an era where people weren't as prudish about this kind of shit, where you can make funny games like this. It was a good experience, I think, overall. I have no regrets. There's nothing that I wouldn't turn back time. I don't go, oh my god, I shouldn't have had these experiences as a kid. Hell no, I think it's freaking awesome. So yeah, we were just talking about Sextris, the game I was playing the other day.
Wow,
the wheels have completely fallen off the show.
What a way to finish! What a way to finish!
Well, I just wanted to quickly mention, I just finally died in Sextris.
Anything tonight?
You won't be able to get the pieces to line up. I just wanted to mention, because you brought it up, but that was awesome back in the day. Like, we're all old, so I actually remember going to PC swap meets. That's what they used to run. And it's like there's nothing like that today. Nothing at all. It was almost like Reddit in person. Like, that's the way I'd always think about it.
It was, yeah.
Because you go to every different store, and you could bring, like, what are they? I've even freaking forgot. Floppy disks, right? You can bring your own floppy disks and just like copy games. People go, hey, pay $1 and I'll copy like Doom onto your floppy disk.
Let me whip out my zip drive.
It was really, really cool, man, and it was like very hobbyist. Like, people would bring stuff in their cars and just have it in their like Ford Falcon boot. And like,
grassroots.
Yeah. You just
those grassroots Sextris shareware dealers,
So yeah, like I kind of miss that element. Like, obviously there's other things that are so much easier, faster, better, etc. But there is that kind of cool human connection that you'd have with people back in that day. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think there's a certain there is, and maybe we're old farts, but there is a certain charm in the rawness of some of these things, and the fact that I didn't mean it as a pun. I swear to God, I just mean there's something really cool about. So if I equate this to, say, for example, back when I had my I had a 1973 Toyota Celica, right?
Yeah.
And I bought it for $200, and one day I flipped the hood, and you knew every single piece.
Yeah.
I could probably tear that car apart with not that much knowledge about mechanics, especially nowadays with YouTube tutorials and shit, which is a bit different. And I could rebuild it. I could rebuild the engine probably from scratch if I had to. You open up the hood of my car now, and you're like, what the is that?
Dude,
what is that component? And you can't do it anyway.
Because you need a computer to be able to turn it on and off and activate it and authorize a part. Like, you put a new part in, you have to authorize the part. So
How did we get here from talking about?
Well, honestly, all I can say is that I appreciate a lot of the conveniences of modern society and everything. I just think it's lost some of its. I don't even like what's the word for it. It's charm.
I get it. You want to go back
realness.
to the simpler days when 8-year-olds can play Sextris.
Exactly.
On a 386.
Is it too much to ask for? Is it too much to ask for? Jesus.
Thinking that my son is like halfway there to that age, I'm like, I do not want him to play Sextris.
I want to have this conversation again when he is 8.
No.
But here's the scary part on a serious note. Back then, other than coming across your dad's porn stash, which I also did, the access to this kind of stuff was way more restricted. There was no internet.
Yeah, that's true.
The internet didn't really. I mean, okay, in 1992 it kind of existed, but not really, and only certain people had access to it.
Not like this. Not like now with the phone.
It's way later. Now it's literally your kid can pick up the bloody phone and go to the most extreme hardcore stuff.
Yeah, and they do.
They do. To me, that's way scarier.
Yeah, that's true.
You
that's
might
true,
come across a random game that's super
tame.
super duper tame by today's standards
Yeah.
on a floppy disk. Like that's those way less than
If
what it
that's
is
the question
today.
you're asking me, of course I prefer that. Although, like, you lose so much if you lose the internet, but like that element, because we have a lot of neighbors and they're all different ages, and it's so crazy. It's like these girls are like 11 years old and people are like sending them stuff.
Nuts.
It's like, what? This is so bad. Like, how the hell is this happening? Like, and now I kind of understand a bit more why, like, Apple, although I don't agree with it, Apple's like blocking people even sending their own photos out and stuff like that, and like monitoring your phone. But yeah, it's pretty.
Because
I don't know.
it's
I'm worried
impossible to
about
control some of that stuff as a parent. You just can't.
Yeah.
Like, unless you monitor, literally, you sit next to your kid 24/7, you can't monitor all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
but you don't, like, an 8-year-old shouldn't have their own phone, or in my view at least.
Well, you
and
can
iPad
argue
and
that as
stuff,
well, but a lot of
You can
parents
argue
kind
that.
of do it because little Johnny's being annoying. Just,
Yeah.
there you go. Take
Well,
the
yeah,
iPad, take the phone, and leave me alone for a bit.
But one thing I wanted
Yeah.
to mention is that, because of my experience with these kind of games, just quickly, and then we'll wrap up, is like, because we all, like, this was back in Footscray, right? And we'd always go for like Chinese New Year, because they'd have like arcades and everything like that. And there was like these super dodgy ones. There was like pachinko machines for kids. These are all for kids, right? And then they would also have the coin games where you like got to throw in coins, and there's like hundreds of Australian dollar coins in the machine, and we'd try to shake it and try to win the coins. More coins you put in, and then they would have these column games, right? And I'm like, what are these columns games? And then I'd go check it out, and it's like Sextris. Like, the more you beat, like, and this is just in public, honestly, 100% for kids, right? And they would set these machines up, and all these kids are playing it, and they're like 8-year-olds, but in public.
Yeah, but look, man, I'm not one to have. I mean, I can have an opinion on this, but I don't have my own kids, so I can't really take it with a grain of salt. I just think, as a society, and especially the way we treat kids, way too freaking sheltered.
Sure.
When you look at history and when you look at the development and growth cycle of a kid, historically, our kids are like ridiculously sheltered nowadays. Ridiculously sheltered. And I don't know. I think look, whatever it is, what it is. I don't really give a shit. I don't have kids at the moment yet.
That you know of, maybe do.
That I know of. If I had kids, would I be as tight about it as? I reckon I wouldn't. To be honest.
You wouldn't.
You'd be like, here,
I don't think
here's
I would.
a free copy
I wouldn't just give them porn mags like
Here's
my
a
dad
free-
did.
here's
My
a free
dad did
copy
to
of-
us at my birthday. But
Here's a free copy of
that's
Sextris.
right.
I've somehow put onto the analog pocket for you.
And I've hacked it with more hardcore porn.
I probably would do that. There you go, Johnny.
I put some
Daddy,
jerk.
I'm only
Johnny,
4. You gotta learn eventually.
Johnny. You gotta name your kid Johnny if you ever have a kid.
Okay, I'll name him Johnny. I'll name her Johnny as well if it's
Little
a girl.
Johnny.
Either way, it's gonna be Little Johnny.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes,
I
thank you, Mike.
appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Thanks for
retrospective.
letting me have the segment.
That was one of my
It
favorite
was fun.
segments of the show's
Welcome back to the show.
69 episode run. It might be the last episode. YouTube might eliminate our channel, but that's okay.
But it was worth it.
I think we'll have to have a serious debate about clipping the show. It was very enjoyable. All right, well, that wraps us up for this week. Next
God.
week, our 4th game of some other year, we're getting through them. Nominee is Yoshi's Island.
Fuck yeah.
And then
Lots of
Swinny
pachinko games in that.
must review. I'm putting the onus on him. RPG Ulf Legend.
No, it's RP Golf.
It's RPG golf. And then update the tier list as well, right, Swinny?
Yeah,
That's tradition.
We'd be updating it with a new color.
Which
for a new
tier list?
developer.
What's the name of what tier list?
It's Thou Who Shall Not Be Named.
Oh, damn it. Failed again.
Can't you just say episode, what was it, 68? I can't actually remember. I think it was 68. Was 67.5? I can't remember.
I'm very confused by what you're saying right now.
The episode number. We had a proper episode number. That
Oh, 67.5. Yes.
67.5. There you go. That's what you can check. That's how you can
the RPG tier
yeah.
list of Thou Shall Not Be Named.
All right. Well, the rails are truly off the show. It's time to say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Catch you later.
Bye.